Good evening and welcome.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
All right. Hello, greetings and welcome. My name is Reverend Mary Huber, pastor of CCWH, which stands for the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing. We are a non-denominational spiritual fellowship started in 1977 by Reverend Michelle Luson, a mystic and channel who carried the multidimensional consciousness, which we still carry here today in this organization. She had an apparition of Swami Sivananda, who appeared to her from spirit and asked her to start this organization and place it here in the Washington, D.C. area to be a light for the nation's capital. We are here to aid in personal and global spiritual transformation. We have chapel services twice a month, which are now currently online only, and we do offer spiritual healing, which we send via distance healing now. We are still not in a facility to hold in-person meetings yet. We do also maintain a prayer list, and you can submit people's names to that list who would be in need right now. So you have a direction on our website to achieve that. So since you're now all on mute, we will start with the affirmations, as we always do, of faith, hope, and charity. And you can say them along with us as they appear on your screen. Faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. Hope affirmation. Acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity, I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. Charity affirmation. In understanding faith and knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. Now, this evening, I chose to talk about atonement, redemption, and transformation. And the reason that I did that was because it is a process which is currently occurring. And it's always good to review where we are today in the process of all of that happening. When the thought I'd start, as we usually do, with a definition. And I was looking it up on the website for the differences between atonement, redemption. There's actually would blend into the other one. And the atonement is the recognition that there has been a problem or some violation that has happened and action needs to take place. And some direct action at least needs to be attempted and started. But to get to the process of redemption, that's where the person really sees the folly of their ways and decides to make these changes. And the example that the dictionary likes to give is the one of the Christmas Carol, where Scrooge changes from this mean, miserly person to a giving and generous man, a real redemptive story. And in the process of transformation, as this flows on, this would be, say, Scrooge going through a dramatic change in form or appearance, not just for the moment, but as the definition in physics is an induced or spontaneous change of one element into another by a nuclear process. And if you look at it through the mathematician's eyes, it's a process in which one figure or expression or function is converted into another that is equivalent in some important respect, but is very differently expressed or represented. This is why the butterfly, the caterpillar to butterfly, is always a symbol of the process of transformation, because it's a wonderful example of that. And the reason I started with a definition was because humanity had to, we're going to go back over some history. Those who are familiar to CCWH and the story that goes with this, I will review very briefly. But the fall of Atlantis, of civilization preceding this one, that was over 35,000 years ago. It existed for quite some time, but did have a significant descent into a lower consciousness there was a lot of fear, a lot of control issues, slavery was initiated. There are a lot of problems that were created in that civilization where humanity really slipped into a different place than it was destined to be. And the result of that entire descent into a darkness really did destroy the continent. So it was a struggle between those, as Michelle would say, between the thyroid and the pancreas, or the control and the insecurities. Those who wanted to control and those who felt that they had no control or were in fear of everything. That was many, many thousands of years ago. And because of that severe incursion into the spiritual consciousness of humanity, this was decided by those who govern the planet from the higher levels of spirit, that humanity then had to go through a process of atonement, redemption, and transformation in order to be able to move on in its evolution as it was intended on this life. When this lifetime began for all of us and who came into the world very early on, it was considered to be a privilege to be here. It was a planet in which one could experience the feeling level of the planet and be part of it and enjoy it. But those early on who came in, those souls, very, very in such distant past, we don't know what that means in today's terms of putting a date on things. In so many ways, they were completely attuned to God. But when that gradually got lost by looking away from God and only into what was seen around in the world, That slippage was really what was known as the fall of mankind, and what we see as the story of the fall in the Garden of Eden, which was a metaphor for that happening. And Atlantis did nothing but continue its descent on the planet. So we are at a very unusual time on the planet in its evolution and the evolution of humanity. That spiritual path that we are all on is approaching the time of transformation. The earth is said to be shedding its bad habits, bad vibrations, bad the whole history that we have had that has been away from the God force and away from the way God intended us to be here. And as we're shedding that, humanity actually had gone through the atonement process and didn't really reach, after many thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, reach the time of redemption until 2,000 years ago, when Jesus introduced this as his mission to the world, and how he could we could use him as the way shower and show how each soul can redeem themselves, no matter where we are. But there is always given to us the understanding through his example that we can go through that process of redemption. As the energies that are coming into the earth now, this was pre-planned a long time ago, many millennia ago, when it was seeing what had to be done. And because of the elevation now in the vibration of the planet and everything moving upward, it is dropping those things that the world does not need. And in that process, everything is going through a dramatic change, a dramatic transformation. There is a fold over time, just the way there's a fold over time in anything. When you go from one era into another era, from one thing into another, and it's going to morph into it, there's always a fold over period. So there are some redemptive activities need to be done yet, need to be completed. There are those who have made the transformation already and are holding the ground, so to speak, for the others while they're making their transit into a different way of being on the planet, a different way of being within themselves even. So through that process, we are here holding that light. Those who have been given the privilege, really, of being on the planet earlier than others in there, and awaken other to be awakened to this understanding, did so a number of decades ago and are progressively enfolding other people in that awareness. And at this time, it is still very important that we do hold that point that we have achieved and make sure that we haven't dropped our own energies in a lower state, which would then need to be recovered in order for us to be part of that great transformation period. So those who are here also in CCWH and who listen to this eventually are more metaphysically inclined, and you do understand that there is the journey of the soul is a journey through time, and that there have been other times and places that our soul has been embodied, and that the predetermined, see, each lifetime there is predetermined for us where we go. We decide that ahead of time. So when our soul enters the predetermined infant's body and animates it by connecting to the central nervous system, and then creates the center, or which are known as the chakras, through which the soul does communicate with us. Now, each chakra in our lifetime plays an important role in the entire structure of the spiritual, physical that we are involved in here. And but there's one that's a major gateway in all of our life's expression. And that would be the chakra of the will of God, which is located at the thyroid gland in the neck. This center of will is an extremely important part of the whole spiritual stem, basically on a daily level, because if you look at the physical thyroid, it's known as the minor regulator of the body and plays a major part in all the functions for their health. And in the spiritual understanding of that thyroid center, the throat chakra, this is where our will exists, and we either align with God's will or we don't. And this governs our choices. This is where we make choices from. Our life is actually determined by the choices that we make. And learning to choose correctly, there is a need to have the understanding that we have a thinking pattern going on and a feeling pattern, and they need to match. And each person is responsible for their own choices that they make. And I believe that it is more evident today that we live in multidimensional consciousness, multidimensional areas of our being simultaneously. And sometimes this complexity gives rise to a little confusion in people today who don't maybe understand that. But the fundamental understanding of the spiritual or right, actually, to make our own choices is very important, because this determines the quality of our life. And this can be very challenging today. And I say this because right now there is still a mixture of the light and dark, or the truth and the not truth. And if one is to be in accord with the new energies that are known to us as the fifth dimensional energies, it is important to align with joy and creative expression. And finding beauty in more things around you. Now, isn't that really where God is in action anyway? The real joy is in finding God. And in finding God, you go through those processes of looking for the good in things, the beauty in things. And I think that's the most important thing that we could be doing each day. So, and those who have been taught well by their spiritual elders, whether it's at home in the home itself, or maybe in a church, hopefully have been presented the higher principles and values as a way of life. And if that has happened for those people, that has created for them a better start in life. But it is my understanding that the soul in each individual presents opportunities during the lifetime to align with the higher principles, the better principles of living, the ones that God would like us to exhibit. And in that way, progress spiritually, and then be morally competent throughout their life. Even those with a bad start, who didn't have all that great support or understanding, are still given the same opportunity to change to a better way. And of course, it's all about choice. And this is why it's so important that we help each other, that we become the example for the world, that we are the way showers too, because there are those who need to see that. There are those who need to have the counseling of the wisdom that we've accumulated, and each light soul who is holding that light now and understands this needs to be aware that they are exuding this light, and are, without even having to say anything, are still affecting for the better of humanity, the people around them in the world. We do not understand how all of that happens usually, unless you are extraordinarily gifted in a psychic way where you can see these things happening energetically. But we as light beings are holding the light in our centeredness and getting ourselves clear every day by doing our spiritual disciplines. are affecting each other in such positive ways that is actually magnetizing, pulling those to us who want to do the same thing. And it is important that we have an understanding that the pull of the world is still there, trying to sell us some sort of a bill of goods, okay? That's why the day-to-day alignment with spirit is so important. And it's knowing how to be centered and knowing how to be balanced is our real life work right now. I had a little mini vision the other day in which I saw a section of a circle of people who were standing in a very large room, each one holding a candle. But every few people around the circle, they happened to be women. They were holding a huge candle. And what I got from that is that there are those who hold greater light. And interestingly enough, since they were feminine, they were expressing through the divine feminine the qualities of compassion, understanding, and receptivity. And it is encouraging to note that those gentle qualities hold so much light and can be such a force in the world. Of course, the feminine quality also stands for intuition and inner sight, and it represents the heart as well. So a proper choice would be to examine what is being presented to each of us with intelligence and reflection, and then take that reflection or judgment, if you want to call it, within yourself and ask your heart, is this good or bad? Is this right or wrong? And your heart has the answer when it's consulted. And if the individual is not clear and centered and has not learned higher principles of oneness, of love and forgiveness and other Christ-like qualities, that individual might be consulting their emotions and not their heart. The heart implies love. Love never includes fear, anger, jealousy, divisiveness, or any other low emotion. Decisions based on those kind of terms are never going to come out well. Those choices will result in more of the same of that nature coming back to the individual, which is, of course, not what they want, really. Therefore, maybe it would be a good exercise to go through the process of atonement, redemption, and transformation every day. These are still a possibility, and because of the cycle of human beings in this world today, I believe that there are always many cycles within a larger cycle. So there's always the opportunity every day to go through the same process, but of course, on a much quicker level. So this kind of an idea might be placed at the end of the day before going to sleep, where one can go into a contemplation or a review of the day. And here we could consider any events, any corrections of looking at our idea of making those corrections through the process of atonement, redemption, and transformation. Would be an easy process to go through, since we understand what has happened that day and what we would think we haven't quite liked our behavior in, or our responses. Of course, all of this would also include an exercise of forgiveness extended to ourselves and to others. And of course, that would accompany your prayer and meditation as well. And that would be a lovely new exercise to put together and take a look at that. That's an old idea. Many of the religions have the process of doing this. The calendar now, being in this particular time, is we are sitting in the beginning of the Jewish New Year, the Rosh Hashanah, and are proceeding to go to Yom Kippur, which in the Jewish tradition is a day of atonement. That has always been for the people of that religion and that culture a very important. These are the high holy days, and it is important that we begin new. And it would be good for us to remember we can begin new every day. We can begin new every moment that we come to awareness and think about ourselves and our behaviors and our attitudes and all of that. So I thought it would be a good way to incorporate many cultures together, because other cultures and religions have had similar effect on their people, giving these kind of instructions, of course, in their own traditions, in their own way of explaining it. The interesting thing was that came to mind was, that daily exercise of self-examination. It could actually prepare the individual, us needing, who know we're going to have to leave this place and this planet or this body and go on and into the next dimension and back into spirit, where we actually come from. And we experience there something called the final judgment that's been spoken to the Christian, through the Christian tradition, as a final judgment. And it always sounded so dark and so heavy, such a horrible kind of, fire and lightning and thunder and all that happening. But actually, it's a review of how things went in that lifetime. So instead of it being a day-to-day, a day thing that would happen for the soul, we actually get to experience the dimension where we are, where the soul is actually just reviewing how did it do, what did it apply, did it happen that the journey was successful, partially successful, wherever our soul sees it, to see how we made that journey in the one lifetime or not. So it occurs relatively soon after we arrive over there, so that possibly doing a daily examination of our day is really quite an interesting preview for just that kind of thing that will happen later on. So, as we know, life is really a state of mind. When right thinking is applied to view the world and our place in it, whatever occurs in that life experience will have good choices and good outcomes if we have the right understanding of life, right view of ourselves and our life. The transformation we seek today is being achieved by every soul who takes the effort to align their lower will with the higher will, with God's will for them, and to go within and consult the intuitive self, which is the direct expression of the mind of God for that individual. Our need to find truth everywhere will be accomplished using that process of going within and becoming more sensitive and more understanding, given to us through the God consciousness within us. So only by consulting that higher inner wisdom will we finally go to the judgment process with the perception of satisfaction. No problem at all. In the meantime, our life here on earth will take on greater meaning and joy and expression. We will truly be helpmates to each other when we understand more thoroughly what life is about and what our place in it is and how we are to contribute. And we will gain in spiritual awareness, leading to our own permanent transformation. The joy of arriving there would be incredible. So in closing, I just wanted to reiterate that our day-to-day thinking about our life is our state of mind, and the state of mind is the one we are taking into the future. So we are being strongly suggested that what we wish to see in the future needs to be envisioned now and act it out now in the present. We are to hold those attitudes and thoughts which will assure us that we will meet those very same thoughts and attitudes coming back to us again in the future world of peace, forgiveness, love, and unity, which will be everywhere. Remember that we are always find what we're looking for. Looking for the good and beautiful in everything will be shown to you every day. You will find it and will indeed lift you to higher ground. I think we can all improve how we exhibit these things, and we'll all then carry that great big candle. Thank you. Now we follow this with our meditation by Kelly Wilk.
Hello and welcome. Today's meditation is on the 5 Chinese elements. I loosely based this meditation on the book by Xuan called The Way of Healing, Qigong. We begin by taking slow and steady deep breaths. We take the deep breaths in and out. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. In and out. Feeling calm in mind, body, and spirit, we send our grounding cords down, down, deep into the ground. And we let go of anything that is unnecessary or unhelpful or unwanted. We let any of these things flow down out of us, out of our physical, mental, and spiritual bodies. To be transmuted by the earth. After sending our grounding cord down, we find ourselves reaching up to the spirit, to the sky, to the heavens, to the light and all that is. We reach upwards and we find ourselves connecting with that light, that love, that peace. And we pull it down to us. We feel that light energy as it imbues us with its beautiful, beautiful, loving light. And we pull it all around ourselves, wrapping ourselves in the light from head to toe, from front to back, from side to side, and all around. Now we know we are grounded, we are connected, we are protected. As we move into our sacred space, our space of meditation and healing and peace. We imagine ourselves going there to any space that speaks to us, be it in the real world or imagined. Wherever we go, we feel very present, very safe, very peace-filled, and full of light and love. As we take a moment to settle into our sacred space, we take note of anything around us, anything that we immediately notice about our surroundings. We feel how real and calm it seems, how safe and present and relaxed we are. From this space, we will call on the energies of the 5 Chinese elements. The first energy we welcome in is that of metal. Metal energy moves inwards. We find ourselves picturing some form of metal. It can be any metal at all. We see it before us. We take note of its size and shape. We may get a whiff of that metallic scent, or hear the singing sound that metal makes when it is struck. We may see its metallic shine flashing in the light. But we know that we have metal and the energy of metal before us. This inward energy helps to bind things together. It can conduct energy. It is magnetic. At this time, we think of something in our lives that may benefit from the energy of drawing in, of binding together, of being magnetized. Whatever this is in our lives that would benefit from this metal energy, we picture now. We picture it before us and we see it surrounded by metal. Perhaps we surround it with a wall of metal, with chunks of metal, with beams of metal. Or with flashing metallic light. We see the metal all around, and we know it is successfully magnetizing and binding and drawing inward. When that working seems complete, we give thanks to the energies of metal, and we feel the energies of water coming in its place. These water energies move ever downward, descending, flowing down, moving to where things reach their point of maximum rest. We know that water is a part of all of us, an important part of our fundamental constitution, giving us the power to exist. And it has still gathering flowing energy. Energy that can await the exact right time to act. Being conscious of these properties of water, we now wait and see if a situation in our lives comes to mind that would benefit from the downward descending, gathering energies of water. If something does indeed come to our minds, we picture it and surround it with water, like a stream or a waterfall, perhaps, flowing downwards, moving into the situation, pooling and gathering the energy necessary, waiting for the right time to act, and reaching the point of maximum fullness, maximum rest. We take a moment to let the water continue to flow down, down, ever downwards, and then begin to pool and fill up. We see the water and smell its fresh scent. We may feel it on our fingers or feet or somewhere else, and be aware of whether it is cool or warm or somewhere in between. We may hear the sounds of rushing water. When the time is right, when we are sure the water energy has completely surrounded the situation in our lives where it would go best, we give thanks and let these energies subside. We move onward to the next element, that of wood. The element of wood has an energy that expands outward like a great tree, growing broader and wider every year. We imagine those concentric circles that make up a tree, and we connect to that energy that expands outwards in circles. We become aware also of wood energy and how it is able to be both very strong and very supple at the same time. Wood energy knows when it must stand firm and be unyielding, and when it must bend. The energy of wood also aids us in remaining in perfect balance and divine harmony with our environment. We find ourselves picturing wood, perhaps a great tree stump, perhaps some piece of furniture where the wood grains can clearly be seen. Or maybe we see a great tree before us, or a small tree, or some other wood. We take a moment to focus on this energy. As we do so, a part of our life that would benefit from the expanding energy of wood may come to mind. We put this part of our life, this situation, inside of the energy of wood, and we let the wood work its magic. We feel it imbue the situation with expanding energy, moving out strongly in concentric circles. We feel the great strength and suppleness of the wood surrounding our issue. We feel the absolute balance and harmony traveling from the wood to the situation at hand. As we strongly connect with the wood energy, we may smell the sweet scent of a particular wood. We may feel rough tree bark or the smooth grain of polished wood. We may be aware of the sound of leaves blowing, hitting each other in the breeze. But we know that we are strongly connected to wood, and it is successfully imbuing our situation with its great energy. When this process seems complete, we give thanks to the energies of wood, and we see them slowly fade away. Now before us, we are aware of the element of fire. We feel our innate connection to fire, for there is an inner fire that sustains each of us. Fire has a powerful radiating energy, especially capable of radiating emotion and action, connecting us to the spirit of life and consciousness. As we focus on fire, we find our own appreciation of life growing, and we have an increasing awareness of our own power to direct our own lives, how we so choose. We know that this great fire energy also aids us in our connection to the whole universe. And it makes us aware of warmth and empathy. As we focus on these qualities of fire, a certain situation in our own lives may come forth as being able to benefit from fire energy. If this does occur, we put this situation in the middle of the fire energy. We let it be surrounded. We may see no more than sparks or embers or a campfire surrounding it. Perhaps there is something much larger. A bonfire, a volcano, any image of fire that our minds create may be circling around and around our situation and filling it with fire's powerful, light-giving, and life-connecting energy. We allow the fire to illuminate and seep into whatever situation would most benefit from it. And we take a moment to send these energies now. Once the working feels complete, we give thanks to the energies of fire, and we feel the energies of earth before us. Earth energies move steadily and slowly. They may feel horizontal to us, or perhaps they travel in more of a circle. But these energies are patient, supportive, and nurturing to us. These earth energies underpin, absorb, they withstand and accommodate. The great steady energy of the earth helps us to remember that we too can be steady, even when dealing with great change. As we think on these great earth energies, a part of our life that would benefit from them may come to mind. We place the situation within the circle of earth energies before us. And we let the great patient, supportive, and nurturing energies of the earth sink in. As we allow the earth energies to surround and imbue the situation, we may connect to different aspects of the earth. We may see grass or soil or rock. We may smell freshly tilled soil or feel the loamy richness of it beneath our feet. But we clearly perceive the earth energy and allow it to surround whatever situation we are aware of that would most benefit from these patient, accommodating, steady energies. Once the working feels complete, we give thanks to these earth energies, and indeed to all the 5 elements. We give thanks to our sacred space, and we begin our slow journey back to our own homes, our own bodies, our own selves. Taking deep breaths, we feel ourselves return fully. And when the moment is right, we open our eyes. Thank you, and welcome home.
Thank you, Kelly, for that beautiful meditation. And now I'd like to invite you, if you haven't found our website by now, that you go to ccwh.com, and there you will find a drop-down menu labeled Get Involved, where there is a place to make a contribution, for which we would be so grateful. And while you're there, perhaps you would consider becoming a member. Our affirmations are found there, as well as a place where you can submit a request for prayers for someone in need.
For 44 years, CCWH has been an amazing place for spiritual learning and value. We will continue to provide value that will enrich your spiritual journey. Donations big and small makes what we do possible. Please help us help you and others by making a donation today. Click here to visit ccwh.com. Thank you.